Captain Lee Hana stared at the empty space where New Busan colony should have been. Her ship, the Horizon's Edge, floated quietly in the darkness. 3 days ago, this place had been home to 3 million people. Now there was nothing but twisted metal and floating debris. "Captain, I'm not getting any signals," said Lieutenant Park Ji-won from his station. His voice was quiet and scared. No emergency beacons, no survivors, nothing. Hana closed her eyes for a moment. She had visited New Busan just 2 months ago. Children had played in the parks while their parents worked in the fusion plants. The colony had been one of humanity's most successful settlements, producing enough energy to power 12 star systems. "What kind of weapons could do this?" asked Dr. Kim Soo-young, the ship's science officer. She was looking at her scanner readings, with confusion. "The energy signatures don't match anything in our databases." Hana walked to the main viewing screen. Pieces of buildings drifted past like leaves in the wind. She could see what looked like part of a school, its classroom windows, now open to space. Somewhere in that wreckage were people she had known, friends who had invited her to dinner and shown her pictures of their families. "Captain, incoming message from Earth Command," announced the communications officer. Admiral Kim Tae-hyun appeared on the screen. His face looked older than Hana remembered, with new lines around his eyes. Behind him, she could see other officers moving with urgent purpose. "Captain Lee, I need you to listen carefully," the admiral said. "New Busan isn't the first. We've lost 17 colonies in the past month. Every single one was destroyed completely, just like what you're seeing now." Hana felt the blood drain from her face. 17 colonies meant over 50 million people. "Sir, who's doing this? The Galactic Council should be—" "The Council claims they're investigating," Admiral Kim interrupted. "But their investigation moves slower than continental drift. Meanwhile, our people keep dying." He paused and looked directly at her. "I'm giving you new orders, Captain. You're to begin independent reconnaissance, find out who's behind these attacks." "Sir, that violates the Truce Accords. If we conduct military operations without Council approval, the truce is already broken, Captain." The Admiral's voice was hard as steel. "Someone decided that humanity doesn't belong in this galaxy anymore. They picked the wrong species to mess with." After the transmission ended, Hana stood quietly on her bridge. Her crew waited for orders, but she needed a moment to think. The Truce Accords had kept peace in the galaxy for over 2,000 years. Every species had agreed to limit their military activities and resolve conflicts through the Council. Humanity had followed those rules perfectly since joining the galactic community 50 years ago. "Captain," said Dr. Kim, "I'm detecting something strange in the debris field. These metal fragments, they're not from our buildings." Hana moved to look at the readings. "What do you mean?" "The atomic structure is wrong for human construction materials. This metal has traces of Zephyrian plasma scoring, but also signs of Vorth crystal weapons and Krell bioacids." Dr. Kim looked up with surprise. "Captain, this debris came from weapons used by 3 different species." "That's impossible," said Lieutenant Park. "The Zephyrians, Vorth, and Krell hate each other. They've been enemies for centuries." Hana stared at the data. 3 species that couldn't agree on anything had somehow worked together to destroy human colonies. This wasn't just random violence or territorial dispute. This was something much bigger and more dangerous. "Captain, another message coming in," called the communications officer. "It's from Colony Director Yoon Minho at Hanyang Station." A desperate face appeared on screen. Director Yoon was covered in dust, and his clothes were torn. Behind him, Hana could see fires burning and people running. "Any ship in range, this is Hanyang Station, we're under attack. Unknown ships appeared 15 minutes ago and started firing without warning. Our shields are failing and—" The transmission cut to static. "Try to re-establish contact," Hana ordered. "I can't, Captain. Hanyang Station's communication array just went dark." Hana felt anger building in her chest. Hanyang Station was home to her younger brother and his family. Her nephew had just started school there. Now they might all be dead, killed by enemies who struck without warning or mercy. "Set course for the Hanyang system maximum speed," she commanded, "and send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we need warships, not research vessels. As the Horizon's Edge jumped to hyperspace, Hana thought about the Admiral's words. Someone had decided humanity's time was over. But humans had survived ice ages, world wars, and the long journey to the stars. They had earned their place in the galaxy through hard work and determination. If someone wanted to test humanity's resolve, they were about to learn why that was a very bad idea. The universe was vast and full of powerful species, but it had never faced anything quite like an angry human who had nothing left to lose. The hunt was about to begin. Commander Yoon Minho crawled through the narrow maintenance tunnel beneath the abandoned consortium trading post. His breath came in short puffs inside his helmet as he tried to stay quiet. The station had been empty for 3 days, but the air still smelled of burned metal and death. His scanner beeped softly in his ear. The readings made no sense at first. Zephyrian plasma burns on the walls, mixed with the strange crystal dust that Vorth weapons left behind. But there was something else too. The slimy residue that Krell bioweapons always produced when they dissolved organic matter. This is impossible, he whispered to himself. The 3 species hated each other more than they disliked humans. The Zephyrians thought the Vorth were cold and emotionless. The Vorth believed the Krell were disgusting insects. The Krell considered both other species to be inferior prey. Yoon carefully collected samples in sealed containers. His hands shook slightly as he worked. If these 3 enemies had somehow joined forces, humanity was in more trouble than anyone realized. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim Taehyun paced around the war room table. The room was deep underground, protected by meters of concrete and steel. Maps of the galaxy covered every wall, with red marks showing where human colonies had been destroyed. "Show me what we know," he said to Director Choi Sumi, the head of Human Intelligence. Choi activated the holographic display above the table. Images of destroyed colonies appeared one by one. "The attacks follow a pattern, Admiral. They're not random. Every colony they hit was one of our most advanced settlements." "What do you mean?" asked Colonel Han Ji-soo, the Admiral's assistant. "New Busan had the most advanced fusion reactors in human space. Hanyang Station was our primary research facility for quantum computing. Neo Seoul was where we were developing new starship engines." Choi pointed to each location as she spoke. "They're not just killing our people, they're destroying our technology." Admiral Kim stopped pacing. His face was grim as he understood what this meant. "They're trying to stop our progress. Keep us from advancing further." "Sir, incoming message from Commander Yoon," announced a technician. Yoon's face appeared on the screen. He was still in his spacesuit, floating in the wreckage of the trading post. "Admiral, I have confirmation. All 3 species were here. Zephyrian, Vorth, and Krell weapons were used in the same attack. The room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. 3 species that had never cooperated before had somehow formed an alliance to destroy humanity. "How is that possible?" Colonel Han asked. "They've been enemies for over 1,000 years. "Fear," said Director Choi quietly. "Fear of what we might become." Admiral Kim nodded slowly. "Humans have only been in space for 50 years, but we've already built colonies and systems that other species said were impossible to settle. Our technology advances faster than theirs. We adapt to problems they can't solve." "They're scared of us," Choi continued, "so they decided to eliminate the threat before we become too powerful to stop." A new alarm sounded in the war room. The technician looked up from his console with wide eyes. "Sir, we're receiving a distress call from New Gwangju. Enemy ships just appeared in the system." New Gwangju was humanity's largest shipyard. If the enemy destroyed it, humans would lose most of their ability to build new spacecraft. Without ships, the remaining colonies would be defenseless. "How long until our nearest fleet can reach them?" Admiral Kim demanded. 48 hours, sir, but the attack will be over in 6. Admiral Kim closed his eyes and made a decision that would change everything. "Activate the ghost fleets." Colonel Han looked shocked. "Sir, those programs were classified beyond top secret. Most people don't even know they exist." "The Galactic Council required us to report all our military assets when we joined," Admiral Kim explained to the room. "But they never asked about The ones we built in secret. Humanity learned long ago not to trust our safety to others. He turned to the technician. Send activation codes to Ghost Fleet Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. Full combat deployment. Director Choi smiled for the first time in weeks. Sir, should we also activate the special weapons projects? All of them, Admiral Kim said. Professor Na's kinetic kill vehicles, Dr. Bay's psychic warfare systems, and Captain Song's adaptive AI swarms. If they want to break the truce, we'll show them what happens when humans stop playing by the rules. Commander Yoon was still floating in space when he received new orders. Instead of returning to Earth, he was to take his team to investigate more attack sites. They needed to learn everything they could about this new alliance. As his ship moved toward the next target, Yoon thought about his family back on Earth. His wife worked as a teacher, and his daughter was only 8 years old. They had never seen war, never known what it felt like to be hunted by enemies who wanted to wipe out their entire species. But humans had survived worse things before. They had climbed out of caves and built civilizations. They had crossed impossible distances to reach the stars. Now they faced enemies who thought they could be easily destroyed. Those enemies were about to learn that humans were much more dangerous than anyone had realized. The hunt was beginning, and humanity would not be the prey. The Zephyrian fleet commander felt confident as his ships dropped out of hyperspace near New Gwangju. Intelligence reports said the human shipyard was defended by only a few patrol vessels. His 40 warships should destroy the facility within hours. All ships begin attack formation, he ordered through his translator device. The Zephyrians looked like tall, thin lizards with golden scales that shimmered in the light. Their technology was ancient and powerful, tested in 1,000 battles. But as his fleet moved toward the shipyard, something strange appeared on his sensors. Thousands of tiny objects were floating in space around the human facility. They looked like metal insects, each one no bigger than a human fist. "What are those things?" asked his weapons officer. Before anyone could answer, the tiny objects began to move. They swarmed toward the Zephyrian ships like angry bees protecting their hive. The fleet commander laughed. "Primitive human toys. Our shields will stop them easily." The first wave of metal insects hit his flagship's shields and bounced off harmlessly. But then something unexpected happened. The second wave moved differently, finding weak spots in the shield matrix. The third wave seemed to know exactly where to hit. "Commander, these devices are learning from each attack," his science officer reported with growing alarm. "They're adapting to our defenses faster than our computers can compensate." Captain Song Yeji watched the battle from her hidden command ship. The AI swarms were working exactly as designed. Each tiny drone shared information with all the others, creating a collective intelligence that grew smarter with every passing second. "Zephyrian shields down to 60%, reported her tactical officer. "The swarms are targeting their power conduits now." Song smiled. The Zephyrians had powerful shields, but they had never faced weapons that could learn and adapt in real time. Human engineers had spent years developing these AI swarms while officially working on mining automation systems. 3 star systems away, the crystalline Vorth ships faced their own surprise. The Vorth were living crystals that built their spacecraft from the same material as their bodies. Their ships were nearly indestructible, able to absorb energy weapons and repair damage automatically. Professor Na Junho had studied Vorth crystal structure for 5 years, always claiming his research was for peaceful industrial applications. Now his knowledge powered weapons that turned the Vorth's greatest strength into a fatal weakness. The kinetic kill vehicles were simple in design but devastating in effect. They were just chunks of dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic launchers. When they hit the crystal ships, they didn't explode or burn. They simply transferred all their energy into the crystal lattice. The Vorth commander felt his ship shudder as the first projectile struck. His crystal hull, which had survived direct hits from plasma cannons, cracked like glass hit by a hammer. The kinetic energy spread through the crystalline structure, shattering support beams and opening the ship to space. Impossible, he thought in his alien mind. How do they know our weakness? But humans had always been good at learning from their enemies. They watched, they studied, and they found ways to turn strength into vulnerability. The Krell hive ships discovered an even more terrifying surprise. The Krell were insect-like creatures that shared a group mind. Thousands of individual Krell on each ship thought as one, making their reactions incredibly fast and coordinated. Dr. Bae Soren had spent years studying how the Krell collective consciousness worked. Her official research was labeled as Communication Enhancement Studies. In reality, she was learning how to attack minds that were connected together. The psychic warfare devices she created were small transmitters that sent specific frequencies into space. When Krell minds received these signals, something terrible happened. Individual Krell began to feel separated from the group consciousness. On the lead hive ship, a Krell drone suddenly felt alone for the first time in its life. The comforting presence of its brothers and sisters was gone, replaced by terrifying silence. Panic set in, then madness. The drone began firing its weapon at anything that moved, including other Krell. Within minutes, the entire ship was in chaos as isolated Krell fought each other in desperate fear. The collective mind that had been their strength became their destruction as the artificial separation drove them insane. Admiral Kim Tae-hyun watched reports from all three battles in his command center. For 50 years, humanity had followed the Galactic Council's rules about military development. They had reported their conventional weapons and accepted limitations on their fleet size, but they had never reported the secret projects, the ones developed in hidden facilities by scientists who officially worked on civilian research. The galaxy thought humans were primitive newcomers with limited technology. "Sir, all three enemy fleets are in retreat," reported Colonel Han Jisoo. "The Zephyrians lost half their ships to the AI swarms. The Vorth Crystal fleet is completely shattered, and the Krell are firing on each other." Admiral Kim nodded with satisfaction. "Send a message to all human colonies. Tell them the attacks are over for now. Our enemies wanted to see what happens when they break the truce." "What should we tell the Galactic Council, sir?" asked Director Choi Sumi. "Tell them the truth," Admiral Kim replied. "We defended ourselves using weapons we developed legally within the treaty limitations. We never agreed to limit our creativity or our ability to learn from our enemies." The galaxy was about to discover that humans were much more dangerous than anyone had imagined. When pushed too far, they didn't just fight back, they fought smart. Captain Lee Hana stood on the bridge of her new warship, watching as human construction drones worked around the clock. What had been empty space 3 days ago was now a fully operational military base. The drones moved like a metal storm, building walls, weapons platforms, and communication arrays faster than any organic crew could manage. "Captain, the Therian delegation is requesting permission to come aboard," announced Lieutenant Park Ji-won. His voice carried excitement that he tried to hide. The Therians were insect-like beings with 4 arms and compound eyes. For 300 years they had been slaves to the Zephyrian Consortium, forced to work in dangerous mines and factories. Now their homeworld was free, liberated by human forces just 2 weeks ago. Queen Zakth entered the bridge with her guard escort. She was larger than the other Therians, with golden stripes across her dark shell. When she spoke, her translator device made clicking sounds between words. "Captain Lee, my people wish to thank you again," the Queen said. "For 3 centuries, we believed freedom was impossible. Then your warriors came and broke our chains in a single day." Hana felt uncomfortable with the praise. The battle had been almost too easy. Human AI swarms had disabled the Zephyrian guard ships, while kinetic weapons destroyed their orbital platforms. The Therians had done most of the actual fighting once they realized they could win. "Your Majesty, we only gave you the tools. Your people freed themselves." "Perhaps," Queen Zakth clicked thoughtfully. "But now we offer you something in return. My industrial worlds can build ships and weapons for your war. We know consortium technology better than anyone." This was exactly what Admiral Kim had hoped. For human forces were powerful, but small in number. They needed allies who could match the enemy's production capacity. Meanwhile, Commander Yoon Minho was having his own success on the other side of the galaxy. His Special Forces team had captured a Vorth command ship during a raid on their forward base. The crystalline aliens inside had fought bravely but couldn't match human boarding tactics. Engineer O'Dabin crawled through the captured ship's strange corridors, studying alien technology with fascination. The Vorth built everything from living crystal that could grow and reshape itself. Their computers were particularly interesting. "Commander, you need to see this," O called out excitedly. She was connected to one of the crystal computers with cables and sensors. "These Vorth systems process information completely differently from our quantum computers. If we could network them together, what would happen?" Yoon asked. "We could create a hybrid computer more powerful than anything either species has built alone. The Vorth crystals handle certain calculations perfectly, while our quantum processors excel at others. Together, they could solve problems neither system could handle separately." Yoon smiled. This was exactly the kind of discovery that terrified the enemy alliance. Humans didn't just steal alien technology. They improved it and combined it with their own innovations to create something entirely new. Back on the consortium homeworld, the three-species alliance was beginning to fall apart. The Zephyrian Council leader paced nervously in his golden chambers, while holographic images of his allies flickered before him. "We underestimated them," admitted the Vorth Crystallarch, her voice ringing like wind chimes. "Their weapons are more advanced than our intelligence indicated." The Krell Queen Mother's image writhed with agitation. Her insectoid form twitched as she spoke through the translator. "My hive ships cannot function when their minds are isolated. These humans have found a way to attack consciousness itself. We need help from the Galactic Council," the Zephyrian leader said desperately. Surely they cannot allow humans to ignore all treaties and wage unrestricted warfare. But the Council was facing its own crisis. Ambassador Feltar of the Aquatic Domains had called an emergency session to address the growing conflict. The great chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from dozens of species gathered. "The humans claim they are only defending themselves," Feltar announced to the assembly. "But their actions go far beyond simple retaliation. They are actively recruiting allies and building new military bases." "Perhaps because the original attacks were not simple raids," replied Ambassador Yathara of the Silicon Confederacy. Her mechanical voice carried disapproval. 57 million humans died in those colony attacks. Any species would respond with force." The reptilian hegemony representative stood up with angry gestures. "But they are using weapons that violate the spirit of the Truce Accords, these AI systems, these psychic warfare devices. Show me the treaty clause they have broken," challenged the Avian Republic's diplomat. "I have reviewed all documents. The humans reported their conventional military assets as required. They never agreed to limit their scientific research or their ability to develop new defensive technologies." The debate continued for hours, but the real problem was obvious to everyone present. The Galactic Council had maintained peace by requiring all species to accept limitations on their military power. But those limitations only worked when everyone followed the same rules. The three-species alliance had broken those rules first by conducting secret military operations. Now humans were showing what happened when an innovative species decided to stop holding back. Fear was spreading through the galaxy. If humans could defeat the combined forces of three ancient civilizations, what could they do to anyone else who opposed them? Some species began quietly reaching out to human diplomats, hoping to secure favorable treatment in the new order that seemed to be coming. The fire that had started as simple revenge was spreading into something much larger. The galaxy's old power structure was burning, and from the ashes something entirely new was being born. Admiral Kim Tae-hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship as the massive human fleet approached Nexus Station. The political center of the galaxy floated before them like a small metal moon, its surface covered with docking bays and communication towers. For 2,000 years, this station had been where the galaxy's most important decisions were made. Today, those decisions would be made by force. "Sir, enemy fleet is taking defensive positions around the station," reported Captain Song Yeji from her tactical display. "I count ships from 12 different species, including what's left of the consortium, Vorth, and Krell forces." Kim nodded calmly. The final battle had come at last. 6 months of fighting had led to this moment. The three-species alliance was broken and desperate. Their supporters in the Galactic Council had nowhere left to run. "All ships execute formation Tiguk," Kim ordered into his communicator. What happened next amazed even the human crews who had trained for this moment. The fleet began to move like a living creature. Ships changed their position smoothly, creating a spiral pattern that rotated around the station. Each vessel knew exactly where every other ship would be at any given moment. Captain Song's ship was at the center of the formation. As enemy fire began to hit her vessel, something incredible happened. The ship's hull started to flow like liquid metal, reshaping itself to deflect incoming attacks. Armor plates moved to reinforce damaged areas while weapon systems adjusted their positions for better firing angles. "Adaptive hull systems are working perfectly," Song reported to the Admiral. "Enemy weapons are hitting us, but we're changing faster than they can adapt their targeting." On Nexus Station, the enemy commanders watched in growing horror as their coordinated attacks failed to stop the human advance. Every time they thought they understood human tactics, the formation changed into something completely different. The Zephyrian fleet commander tried to use his superior numbers to overwhelm a section of the human line. But the moment his ships committed to the attack, nearby human vessels shifted to support their allies. What looked like isolated ships turned out to be part of a larger coordinated defense. The Vorth Crystal Arc attempted to use her remaining crystal ships to break through the human formation with brute force. But human kinetic weapons had been upgraded with new targeting systems. Each shot was precisely calculated to hit the exact frequency that would shatter Vorth crystal hulls. The Krell Queen Mother's hive ships tried to stay together for protection, but human psychic warfare devices had become even more sophisticated. Instead of simply isolating individual Krell minds, they now created false connections that made the insects attack ships they thought were enemies, but were actually their own allies. "This is impossible," whispered the station commander as he watched his defenses crumble. "How can they coordinate so perfectly? It's like they're all controlled by a single mind." But that wasn't quite right. Humans weren't controlled by anything. They were cooperating by choice, each ship's crew making decisions that supported the overall plan. It was something the galaxy had never seen before. True voluntary coordination based on shared purpose rather than fear or domination. Engineer Dabin worked frantically in the captured Vorth ship that had been converted into a mobile command center. Her hybrid computer systems were processing battle information from hundreds of sources simultaneously. Therian manufacturing data, human tactical algorithms, and Vorth crystal processing power all worked together to create something greater than the sum of its parts. "Admiral, I'm detecting communication attempts from the station," she reported. "Multiple species are requesting to surrender." Kim considered this carefully. The battle was won, but what came next would determine the galaxy's future. "Put me through to all ships in the station, open channel." His voice carried across space to thousands of vessels and millions of listening beings. "To the forces that broke the peace by attacking innocent colonies, your war is over. Surrender now and you will be treated according to the laws of war. Continue fighting and face the consequences." To the Galactic Council members who stood aside while civilians died, your neutrality has been noted. We will remember who helped and who chose to do nothing when justice was needed. To the species who joined us in fighting for what is right, welcome to a new galaxy. Together we will build something better than what came before. One by one, enemy ships began to power down their weapons. The great station's shields flickered and died as its commanders chose surrender over destruction. Director Choi Sumi approached Admiral Kim as the formal surrender ceremonies began. "Sir, the Galactic Council is requesting immediate negotiations for a new peace treaty. They want to return to the old system with some modifications." Kim looked out at the stars, where human ships now patrolled alongside vessels from dozens of allied species. Therian workers were already beginning to repair damaged stations. Former slaves were becoming free citizens. Species that had never cooperated before were sharing technology and resources. "No more truces, Director," he said firmly. "No more peace through fear and limitation. From now on, every species in this galaxy lives by the same rules: justice, fairness, and the right to defend yourself when attacked. Those who can accept that are welcome to join us. Those who can't," he gestured toward the surrendering fleets around them, They've seen what happens when they test humanity's resolve. The universe had broken the truce, expecting humans to quietly disappear. Instead, they discovered that pushing humans too far doesn't just start a fight, it changes everything.